Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
The echoes of the past often whisper through forgotten words, carried by the winds that once bore the voices of those who spoke them. Among the many erased and overlooked histories of the Americas, few are as deeply buried beneath layers of colonial suppression and forced assimilation as the lost languages of Black Native American tribes. This history, long obscured by dominant narratives, tells a story of rich linguistic diversity, cultural survival, and the forced silence imposed upon peoples whose words once danced like flames in sacred ceremonies, community gatherings, and daily life. Long before European colonization reshaped the landscapes of the Americas, countless indigenous languages flourished across the continent, each one carrying unique expressions of identity, spirituality, and connection to the land. Among these linguistic traditions were those spoken by Black Native American tribes, communities that emerged through centuries of intermarriage, alliance, and shared struggle between indigenous peoples and Africans. Whether through early African presence before European contact, as documented by oral histories and contested archaeological evidence, or through the forced mingling of cultures due to the transatlantic slave trade, the merging of African and Native American identities birthed distinct communities with their own languages, dialects, and oral traditions. The earliest traces of Black Native American linguistic heritage can be found in the pre-Columbian era, where evidence suggests that African explorers may have interacted with Native American societies. African linguistic patterns influenced certain indigenous tongues, creating hybridized dialects that would later evolve into complex languages. As European colonization swept through the continent, these unique languages were further shaped by forced migrations, the mixing of enslaved Africans with native communities, and the pressures of survival in a rapidly changing world. Some of the most notable lost languages emerge from the interactions between escaped African slaves and indigenous tribes who offer them refuge. The Seminole Maroons, for example, developed a distinct linguistic identity that blended African languages with Muskogee, Creek, and other indigenous tongues. These communities, bound by shared resistance against European and American oppressors, forged languages that were neither purely African nor purely Native American, but rather a testament to the fusion of both. In the Southeast, the Gullah-Geechee people, descendants of enslaved Africans, formed strong bonds with Native American tribes such as the Yamasee and Creek. Linguistic remnants from these interactions were deeply woven into the Creole languages spoken by these communities. Similarly, in Louisiana and parts of the Gulf Coast, Afro-Indigenous communities spoke a mix of African, French, Spanish, and Native American languages, creating complex linguistic tapestries that carried their histories, resistance, and spiritual beliefs. Despite the resilience of these communities, the languages they nurtured faced systematic erasure. The U.S. government's policies of forced assimilation, including Indian boarding schools and laws that criminalized the speaking of native tongues, extended to Afro-Indigenous languages as well. Children were taken from their homes and punished for speaking the languages of their ancestors, ensuring that by the 20th century, many of these tongues had faded into silence. The loss of language meant not only the erasure of words, but also the loss of oral traditions, spiritual practices, and ways of understanding the world that had been passed down for generations. Even with these tragic losses, the legacies of these languages persist in subtle and unexpected ways. Certain words, phrases, and linguistic structures have survived in regional dialects, folklore, and cultural practices. Efforts by linguists, historians, and Afro-Indigenous descendants to reclaim these lost languages have grown in recent years, driven by the desire to reconnect with ancestral knowledge and revive the voices of those silenced by history. Oral histories, preserved through storytelling traditions, serve as invaluable resources in these revitalization efforts, ensuring that even the fragments of these lost languages continue to tell their stories. The significance of these lost languages extends beyond the realm of linguistics. They represent the resilience of communities that refuse to be erased, the ingenuity of those who forged new identities in the face of oppression, and the enduring connection between Black and Indigenous histories in the Americas. By unearthing and honoring these linguistic traditions, we not only acknowledge a past that has long been overlooked, but also empower future generations to reclaim their heritage and restore the voices of their ancestors. As the world continues to reckon with the consequences of colonialism and cultural erasure, the lost languages of Black Native American tribes serve as powerful reminders of what was taken and what can still be reclaimed. Through research, storytelling, and a commitment to preserving these voices, the echoes of the past may once again find their place in the present, ensuring that the languages of resistance, survival, and identity continue to be heard for generations to come.